There's a lot riding on the success of Cyberpunk 2077, not just for CD Projekt Red or even for the gamers who are eagerly awaiting for the game to release, but it seems to me that the entire fate of the Western RPG will be determined by Cyberpunk 2077 and the reception it receives. Whatever happened to the Western RPG? They rose in the Xbox era with such classics like Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. Knights of the Old Republic was the first digital RPG set in the Star Wars universe. Through your actions, you can either be a servant of the light or dabble in the dark side if you dare. As cool as it was to explore the environment, build and wield your lightsaber, or even use the Force at your will, the story is where Knights of the Old Republic really excelled. Not only in the writing, but also in the delivery. As a player, you were invested in the story because you helped drive the story forward, not only through the branching dialogue, but through your actions. The ending of the first Knights of the Old Republic is one not to miss. Xbox also had cult hits like Jet Empire and Morrowind, and the Western RPG reign continued on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, with critical and commercial hits like Mass Effect series, Oblivion, Skyrim, and Fallout 3. The Mass Effect series wasn't perfect, they never really got the resource gathering quite right, but again, BioWare delivered with the gameplay. The combat, bending both shooting and biotic powers, was impressive, and they also delivered an epic story spanning 3 games, yet each one felt entirely complete on its own. Oblivion and Skyrim, even though technically flawed games, they were also technically impressive. Bethesda built these massive worlds full of NPCs for you to interact with. You would often get lost, no, let me rephrase that. You would often get distracted on your way towards your destination because it seemed like there was always something exciting around the corner for you to discover or explore, like a cave full of goblins and precious loot, or an ancient dragon, or a unicorn. Fallout 3 was the first time gamers got a chance to play Fallout in first-person view, and the combat was in real time instead of turn-based like previous Fallouts that were developed by Interplay. Bethesda and Fallout 3 are responsible for the popularization of the post-apocalyptic theme in video games. They were trendsetters, full of fresh ideas. Back then, the Western RPG was king. Japanese RPGs still had their place, but it was really Western studios that pushed the genre forward. But then something happened. Western RPGs took a turn for the worse. Powerhouse studios Bethesda and BioWare somehow lost their way once the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One launched. One can argue that BioWare lost its way last generation when the studio was bought out by Electronic Arts, and it lost its soul once founders Dr. Ray and Dr. Greg left the studio. You can look back at the ending of Mass Effect 3 for further evidence. The writing was weak. The ending to this trilogy was underwhelming. So underwhelming that BioWare released DLC in an attempt to fix the ending in order to make fans happy. But it wasn't until Electronic Arts released Mass Effect Andromeda when we finally realized that BioWare was not the same studio we once knew. Production on the game was rough. Many project leads left the studio mid-project due to creative differences. Besides Andromeda being a glitch fest when it released, the game was uninspiring. It was obviously rushed, the animations speak for themselves. BioWare Montreal only introduced one new alien race, a galaxy away, but they only found one new alien race during this exploration mission? 3 if you generously add the boring robots scattered across the planets, or what happens to the Angara alien race in the story. Planet exploration was dull because all the environments looked the same, and the missions were repetitive, though the most uninspiring part of the Mass Effect Andromeda was the story and the writing, which is supposed to be a driving force behind an RPG, but ended up being nothing short of a disappointment. My face is tired just thinking about it. So BioWare failed to deliver with Mass Effect Andromeda. I get it, not all games can be winners. Surely BioWare has another RPG lined up, right? Right, EA? Nope. Instead, BioWare is coming out with the much anticipated looter shooter Destiny. I'm sorry, I mean Anthem. It's kinda like Destiny, but you can fly. With what I can gather so far from interviews from BioWare, Anthem won't have a story with branching dialogue like we're used to getting from them. Instead, it seems to be taking Destiny's lead when it comes to storytelling, and by the looks of Anthem, making games. I guess they're trying to get into that live service money before it runs out. BioWare still says they're interested in telling great stories, but action speaks louder than words. And if Anthem ends up being a commercial success, which I suspect it will, I'm not sure we'll ever see the old BioWare ever again. And now we have Bethesda, the house of the Elder Scrolls series. As a publisher, there's no denying that Bethesda's on the rise. They publish such hits like Doom, Dishonored, Wolfenstein, The Evil Within, and Prey to name a few. But at the same time, it's fair to point out that their Western RPG offerings have not been up to snuff. Fallout Shelter is boring, it's more of a chore than a game. Fallout 4, was okay, but it was definitely inferior to both Fallout 3 and even the spin-off Fallout New Vegas, which was developed by Obsidian, who also developed Knights of the Republic 2. Fallout 4 was still a good game, just not great. It introduced a few new mechanics to the series like base building, which made scavenging worthwhile, but again the story wasn't inspiring. The gameplay was old and clunky and the graphics could be ugly at times. And now they released Fallout 76, an online survival RPG. And by the looks of it, gamers and reviewers are not happy with the game. Bethesda gave us a Fallout game without any NPCs, a staple for quest giving and role-playing games. And not having NPCs in Fallout is making this game a rather lonely experience. And I mean more than usual. My buddy calls it wasting my time land. And for some people it is. I'm still on the fence on the idea of Fallout 76. There are some things that I like about it, like exploring and finding interesting areas. I like being surprised by unexpected events and scenarios, or getting caught in those Fallout conundrums. Still, the story being told through robots and holotapes was a fatal mistake. Western RPGs have been so awful this generation that even studios like Ubisoft are all confused. Assassin's Creed used to be this fun, free-flowing action-adventure game, but somehow became this slow, restrictive role-playing game that makes you grind through side missions in order to be powerful enough to play the main missions. Both Origins and Odyssey became a grind fest, but at least in Odyssey you have this option to buy an XP booster with real money, acknowledging that Ubisoft intentionally added the grind, otherwise the XP booster wouldn't be needed. So Ubisoft's idea of a Western RPG is to hold gamers hostage by making parts of the game, parts of the map, unplayable until you're powerful enough or you pay some money. But not all studios who make Western RPGs have lost their identity this generation. On the contrary, CD Projekt Red found their identity with the release of their critical and commercial success, The Witcher 3. CD Projekt Red main studio is located in Poland. And technically Poland is an Eastern European country, but they make Western-style RPGs, and as of right now, they make them better than no other. The Witcher 3 was almost a technical masterpiece, hardly any bugs. The dynamic weather in this game, together with the stunning graphics, really immersed you in the world. You wanted to explore every nook and cranny to see what surprise might be hidden around the corner. It could be something helpful, or a new terrifying monster. Either way, it was something interesting, but the graphics and exploration alone doesn't make a great Western RPG. The story and character interaction is not only what holds RPGs together, it's the driving force of an RPG. The story is what connects us to the world and makes us care about the characters. It gives us a purpose to be in the game. Without an engaging story and characters, RPGs would simply be survival games. With The Witcher 3, CD Projekt Red delivered with the story. Side quests will tie in with the main quest. Choices you make will affect later plots, and it's not like it's simple black and white choices you make, where you obviously know how it will affect you. You won't know until the time comes, and when it does, you know that whatever the outcome is, you had a role in shaping it. The combat in The Witcher 3 could have used a little bit more work, but no game can be perfect. And even though we don't expect Cyberpunk 2077 to be perfect, we are expecting the game to deliver on the fundamental cores that make great Western RPGs. A dynamic story with branching dialogue, a believable world, and intuitive gameplay that enhances the game, not take away from it. I'm looking at you, Fallout. So far from what I've seen, the world of Cyberpunk 2077 looks impressive. The environments are rich and full of detail, a cohesive vision. So when it comes to the graphics and artistic style, they pretty much have it down. Things will obviously change, but nothing too drastic, I'm sure. So far, we don't know much about the story. We have a backdrop and a general understanding of the world, but not too much is known about the inner workings of how things will be connected or play out. But given The Witcher 3 story, I'm sure they will deliver. And so far, the gameplay looks impressive. Unlike The Witcher 3, CD Projekt Red chose to forgo third-person view and opted for first-person view in Cyberpunk 2077. They said it was a design choice because they felt it would better immerse the player in the world. While other studios are trying to find clever ways to monetize their games, or worse, design their games around microtransactions, or making popular franchises on cell phones instead of consoles and PC, or charge you for the game and then charge you for updates and then have the nerve to call them seasons, you instead have a studio, CD Projekt Red, making design choices that will enhance the game and the experience for the player. It would have been safe for them to make another third-person game, but they chose to do the right thing. They're not thinking of sneaky ways to cheat their fans out of their money. And that's what's at stake here. An honest Western RPG is what's at stake here. And that's why so much is riding on the success of Cyberpunk 2077. It will give gamers a chance to show greedy publishers and developers that we're tired of them making game design choices that will benefit their shareholders at the expense of their customers, their fans. As responsible gamers, I hope that we choose to support studios who make games for their fans, games they want to play, games that they're passionate about. Because by the looks of it, by the looks of the state of the Western style RPG, Cyberpunk 2077 just might be the last genuine Western RPG we'll have the privilege to play for a long time.